Can we make principal sir co-host? Hello, Kabya, am I audible?
Done, sir. Please start.
A very good morning to all of you. Yes, we are here again with another international conference. So, on behalf of GIS College of Engineering, myself, Tanmoy Dotto, and my co-host, Momita Pal, welcome you all in the International Conference on Smart Technologies for Sustainable Development, ICSTSD2021. GIS College of Engineering is the first private self-financed autonomous engineering institution in the state of West Bengal under Maulana Abul Kalam Azad University of Technology and are affiliated to AICTE UGC. Our institution is accredited with UGC NAC Grade A. Eligible engineering departments are accredited by NBA, and moreover, institution qualified for Technical Education Quality Improvement Program funded by World Bank. The aim of this international conference is to bring together worldwide leading researchers, developers, practitioners, and educators interested in advancing the state of art in the various engineering disciplines for exchanging knowledge that encompasses a broad range of research area among various distinct communities. So, ladies and gentlemen, now we have a digital lamp lighting ceremony to officially inaugurate this virtual conference, ICSTSD 2021.
गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शुभं गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः शत्रुबुद्धिविनाशाय दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते दीपज्योतिर्नमोऽस्तुते शुभं गुरुत्वं कल्याणम् आरोग्यं धनसम्पदः
So, to commence our program, we would like to invite Dr. Partho Sarkar, Principal, GIS College of Engineering, to deliver the welcome address. Please, sir.
Thank you. Very good morning to all present in this virtual platform. Respected Honorable MD Sir, board members, distinguished speakers from different parts of the world, esteemed researchers, teachers from different organizations, and my dear students. I, Dr. Partho Sarkar, principal of this institute, welcome you all to this international conference on smart technologies for sustainable development, shortly known as ICSTSD2021. We all know that due to pandemic scenario for last 1.5 years, conferences are available in the virtual platform only. This is one way is very advantageous for all of us in the sense that we can connect people all over the world through this virtual platform. And moreover, different researchers are able to connect themselves through this kind of platform for more and more development. Coming to this, our conference area, that is sustainable development in very in very simple language. If I want to say, then sustainable development is the development that meets the need of the present without compromising the ability of the future generation to meet their own needs. More specifically, if we'll go, then we can say sustainable development can be defined as an approach to the economic development of a country without compromising the quality of the environment for future generation. In the name of the economic development, the price of environmental damages is paid in the form of land degradation, soil erosion, air and water pollution, deforestation, etc. The damage may surpass the advantages of having more quality output of goods and services. So, the goals should be for sustainable development. In my opinion, it should be to promote the kind of development that minimizes the environmental problem, to meet the needs of the existing generation without compromising with the quality environment for future generation. To achieve this, we can consider the followings. Those are, it can be achieved by restricting human activities. Technological development should be input effective and not input utilizing. The rate of consumption should not be surpass the rate of salvation. For renewable resources, the rate of consumption should not surpass the rate of production of renewable substitutes. All types of pollution should be minimized, and it can be achieved by sensible use of natural resources. A few examples can be considered. Those are wind energy, solar energy, crop rotation, sustainable construction, efficient water fixtures, green space, sustainable forestry, and so on. So, the environmental crisis refers to a situation when an environment fails to perform its vital function of life sustenance. The environment becomes suitable when resource extraction remains below the rate of resource generation. Generation of waste remains within the absorption capacity of the environment, and so on. So it is a vast kind of thing, vast topic, where a lot of discussion can happen. We hope during this 2 days seminar, during this 2 days conference, many of researchers will provide their inputs for these areas where improvement can happen and the collaborative kind of works can be possible within different institutions or organizations for different good output for the coming generation. This conference definitely will provide an exceptional platform to the researchers to meet and discuss the solution of recent investigations and scientific results. I wish all the success of this 2 days conference, and I hope each and everybody will enjoy each and every moment of this conference. Thank you. Thank you to all.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Our honorable MD sir is also with us, and without his blessings, it is not possible to conduct such kind of conference. So now I would like to request our honorable MD sir to deliver few words. Please, sir. Sir. MD sir.
MD sir. Sir, some technical glitches or something happened, I think so. Sir is there, is online, but
Yeah, maybe some technical problem.
So moving on to our next role of smart technologies for sustainable development, I'd like to invite Dr. Sheila Singh Ghosh, Vice President, Corporate Relations, GIS Group, Educational Initiatives, and Registrar GISC to address the audience. Please, ma'am.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. A very good morning to all the delegates present on this virtual platform of the conference. As a member of this organizing committee, I welcome you all, the delegates, faculties, and the students. Our Honorable MD Sir, Shraddha Taranjit Singh, our Honorable Principal, Dr. Partha Sarkar, and our guests, those who will join later on, Padma Shri, Dr. Ajay Kumar Roy, Professor Katrina is present over here. It's very nice to see once again her. Katrina Pinto Moria from Queensland University of Technology, Australia, and our another distinguished guest, Dr. Norliza Mohammad Noor from UTM Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. He will join. I think Professor, our very own Professor Bhavatosh Chando, I'm very happy to see his name from ISI India. He will join. Dr. Shrddhar Karbas from KM University, Turkey, and all our beloved guests and my colleagues over here. I'm very delighted to be present here as a part of this conference, and which is going to take place for these 2 days, the International Conference on Smart Technologies for Sustainable Development, which is organized to address various issues of smart technologies to prosper and creation of intelligent solution in future. I just, it was came in my mind that, when we are talking about the sustainable development, the definition of sustainable development still remains same. but the perception has been changed, and we are one way, I should not say it's lucky, but at least we have got the experience of the century. You are the generation, we are the people, those who have got experience of having this good time or bad time that will decide in the future. But the rapid changes, the sea changes has taken place from last 2 years. It is really, we are compelled to think something about this technological transformation and making it a very, very sustainable one. Just think about 10 years. I was thinking about the behavior of the consumer. And you just think about, take a minute and imagine the world we were in 10 years ago. It's hard to believe that, in 2007, what happened? Facebook that time was still competing with MySpace for traffic. And that time, Amazon was just primarily known as for the selling books of these things. And the iPhone was just released. Back in those days, the way we shopped for products and drastically different from the way we shop today. Most of us still trusted brick and mortar stores. We did not have price comparison services, and we were at the mercy of large corporations for discounts. So these changes, it takes only a decade to change the entire thing, and it has given a completely different shape. So the citizens at this moment, they are, behaving completely in the opposite way. Now the options are very, very high. They have got the opportunities to choose wherever they are, whatever time they can. So, the definition of the modern classroom also, you should not think about, that in a room you are sitting with all the education technologies, items and all these things, teachers, students are there. That entire pattern of teaching, learning and everything, will take a different shape. And that is the call of this thing, the day. So under this era, when we are going through these rapid changes, these sorts of conference, exchange, sharing experience, and knowing more and more our friends from different part of the world, they will share their experience. So I believe this is a very, very effective and timely, chosen subject, which we should take it in a very, very positive way and effective way. And please contribute, all the participants, whatever way you think, whatever comes in your mind, when you will participate in different sessions, I think you should be more interactive to get the insight of the situation. I'm very happy and thank you for all other members and colleagues of this conference. And I wish all the best for this 2 days conference. And I am extremely happy to be a part once again. And I am sure the best outcome we will be able to reach. Thank you very much. Thank you. Over to you, Monica.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you so much, ma'am, for your words. Moving to next, I would like to request Dr. Indranath Sarkar, convener ICSTSD2021, to deliver a brief about this conference. Please, sir.
Respected manager, am I audible?
Sir, audible.
Respected Managing Director, JS Group, Mr. Taranjit Singh. Respected Principal, Dr. Partho Sarkar of JS College of Engineering. Respected Corporate Relations, Dr. Sheila Singh Ghosh of JS College of Engineering. Respected Professor Ajay Kumar Rai, Padma Shri. Distinguished guest, Professor Katerina Pinto Moreira from Queensland University of Technology, Australia. Other distinguished guests, authors, participants, colleagues, and dear students. The basic objective of the International Conference on Smart Technologies and Sustainable Development is to provide a platform to share the research activities on smart technologies. The outcome expected from this conference is to leave a footprint on smart technology research in the progress of Industry 4.0. We are happy that we have received the IOP Journal of Physics Conference Series approval to publish all the accepted paper in this Scopus indexed series. We have received numerous research manuscripts in this platform on the tracks of electronics and devices, computational science, environmental and earth science, biological physics, and depending on the reviewers' comments and the similarity checking, about 40 manuscripts has been accepted for presentation in this conference. I believe that this conference will be beneficial to students, research scholars, academicians, and industry persons, those who are attending this event online. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for your insightful words and putting the light upon the main objective of our conference. Now, we are overwhelmed to have Padma Shri Professor Ajay Kumar Roy with us. He was awarded Padma Shri by Government of India for his outstanding contributions in the field of science and engineering. Professor was ex-Vice Chancellor of Bengal College and Science University, presently known as IIEST Shivpur. Prior to this assignment, he was a professor of electronics and electrical communication engineering and head School of Medical Science at Technology and IIT Kharagpur. He has successfully completed more than 20 research projects and also co-authored about 150 research papers in international journals and international conferences. He has authored 5 books published by several international publishing houses. His current research interest includes medical imaging and image processing, pattern recognition, machine intelligence. Now, we'd like to request Professor Ray to deliver the thematic note for this conference. Please, sir.
A very good morning to all the participants of the conference, which is of enormous importance so far as the global future is concerned. At the outset, let me thank the organizers for choosing such an important topic, which is, the smart systems for sustainability development. So sustainability is a huge topic, and sustainability is a must so far as any kind of development is concerned today. And the topic is not simply sustainability, but you have chosen that it should be smart technologies for ensuring smart and sustainable development. So that makes it much more interesting. So what I will do is, naturally, since this is a very, very big area involving, agriculture, healthcare, environment, energy generation, transportation, and what not. As a matter of fact, this is the science and technology which is for survival of civilization. So that's how, naturally, in a short time, I will not be able to give you a complete idea about everything. But let me just go to, can you see my slides? Hello?
Sir, it's not visible now.
Okay, it's not visible. Just a minute. I'm sharing the screen.
Yes, sir, now it is visible.
Now it's visible. Okay. It's okay now?
Yes, sir, it's okay now.
So I have given the topic as science and technology for survival of civilization. So whether civilization will be there tomorrow or not is a very big question. And what needs to be done to ensure the smooth survival of civilization? Most importantly, how long will our current civilization survive if we do not reverse our current path of technological progress? Because, technology has been moving in its own way ever since the first industrial revolution. So if we continue the same, the strategy for our path of progress using fossil fuel-based energy consumption, then surely we do not have much, possibility to ensure that the civilization will survive tomorrow. Let's see the reality in the years to come. Before coming to the smart technology, let us have a general overview about what we have today. The concentration of carbon dioxide, which is coming from the current mode of production of energy, which is coming mainly from the fossil fuel-based energy, coal, petrol, etc., hydrocarbon-based energy. So the concentration of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere today, it is approaching 410 parts per million. So this has already driven the global temperatures nearly more than 1 degree centigrade above the pre-industrial levels. And simply this average 1 degree centigrade higher temperature that has already created a huge number of natural disasters throughout the world. So the dangers will be now compounded as in the years to come, we keep on, if we just do not change our way of looking at the things. UN's, there's one intergovernmental panel on climate change. You may be knowing, and all of us, we know that it is an United Nations initiative, and we call it as IPCC, Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. They have found that there is no way to limit or return global warming to 1.5 degrees centigrade without removing somewhere between 100 billion and a trillion metric ton of carbon dioxide by the end of this century. Imagine a trillion tons of carbon dioxide will have to be removed from whatever is already there in our atmosphere. On the high end, that means reversing nearly 3 decades of global emissions at the current rate. Now, how is it possible? This is possible only if we just take recourse to the alternate, which is renewable sources of energy. The post-COVID reduction of carbon dioxide, this is a very interesting thing, that daily global carbon dioxide emission, it decreased by 17% by April 2020, compared with the mean level in 2019. So you remember that April 2020, almost the whole globe, it has witnessed a total lockdown. And at their peak, emissions in individual countries decreased by 26% on average. So this was possibly the only good thing that COVID has brought to all of us. That is a huge reduction of carbon dioxide emission. Aerosol optical depth, this was found by Modi's satellite. See, I mean, if we do not take recourse to or take the advantage of the highest level of technology, then such complex problems simply cannot be solved. So this is a very interesting, satellite, MODIS, which is known as Moderate Resolution Imaging Spectroradiometer. So now from NASA, using this MODIS satellite, the images it has shown that the optical depth and size distribution of ambient aerosol over the globe on hourly basis. So MODIS will give you AOD, that is aerosol optical depth. This measures how light is absorbed or reflected by airborne particles. Because, these airborne particles, they are really dangerous. And as you may be knowing, that these airborne particles of different sizes, they are really creating huge, healthcare problem issues. The number of cancers, the lung cancer, it is increasing like anything. Now, this AOD, it measures how light is absorbed or reflected by airborne particles. Hazy conditions, it shows that optical depth of 1, or less than 0.1 over entire atmospheric vertical column is considered as absolutely clean air. But AOD measurements in India during 31st March and 5th April for 6 years, it has been shown. I'll show you some of the images where we will find that how the AOD, it has changed over the last 6 years. So this is the image. And so fraction of global carbon dioxide emission, as you can see that this is in level 3. This is level 2, this is level 1. So, and all these are during March year 2020, when in fact our lockdown, etc. started. And at this point, and also in April, you can see that global carbon dioxide emission, how it has gradually reduced. In fact, the satellite images on aerosol optical depth, you can also see that how it has changed all over the globe. And this is, yeah. So this is, an interesting picture by another satellite, which is known as Copernicus Sentinel-5P satellite. And this gives you the PM 2.5, that means the particulate matter which are less than 2.5 nanometer. So how this 2.5 micrometer less than that, the particulate matters, how they change throughout the, throughout the globe. And the particulate matters, which is PM 2.5, these are truly dangerous so far as the human health is concerned. And it is continuously increasing. You will know that in our city of Calcutta, there are 3 places where we continuously monitor. One is in Rabindra Bharati University. The second one is near Jadavpur in the southern east part of Calcutta. And the third one is near Victoria Memorial. So in all these 3 places, this is now, the winter time. Please just try to see what is the condition and then the carbon dioxide emission and the enhancement of PM 2.5 and PM 5. PM10, that is 5 micron or 10 micron. I mean, now below that, now that kind of particulate matter, when it increases, it really creates havoc with the lungs. And now with those who are COVID affected, and already their lungs have deteriorated to a very large extent. And so these are big healthcare issues now. So one thing we understand that the immediate need is limiting the global warming, and carbon dioxide should be just simply somehow either you have to suck it by some technology, or else you have to plant more trees, restoring grassland and other areas. So bioenergy has to be increased. So there are a large number of technologies which are coming today, which is on carbon capture and storage. So carbon capture and storage is the best thing. That is in the industries where a large amount of such carbon dioxide is generated. So if you can capture them, store them, and in many cases, you can transport that carbon dioxide, and then you can make use of that carbon dioxide, because after all, you have captured, you have trapped it. And then what do you do with that carbon dioxide? So that carbon dioxide, one of the major applications may be in cement production in the form of sodium carbonate. It can be trapped inside inside the cement. And that really, in a sense, it enhances the quality of the cement. So this is known as carbon sequestration. So even from the mines also, there are a lot of techniques which are coming out that carbon sequestration will maybe done. So as we said that there are the immediate need, which is how the global warming can be. One of the things is in the technological level, we can go for different types of polymers. Now, carbon negative economy, if you want to really ensure, then as I said, the direct air capture system is one of the major directions in which the technology can go. Carbon engineering, which is based in British Columbia, they have done it in a big way. It is in the process of expanding its pilot plant. So carbon engineering is a big company to increase the production of synthetic fuels. And this will be converted into the form of diesel and jet fuel. So this is, in a sense, you are trapping the carbon dioxide and then using it again for fuels. That's a company, it is really, it has been named as possibly the most sustainable company in the whole world. It's a Danish company in Denmark. Its name is Ørsted, and they were initially one of the big energy giants. Now this company, including, just simply a few years back, they were generating huge amount of fuel, fossil fuel-based energy. And today, this company, they have just reversed their technology. And what they are doing is that it is just the opposite they are doing, that only 1/3 of their production is now fossil fuel based, and 2/3 of their production currently is in renewable mode. So carbon emission has been reduced to a very large extent by the company. So we have to go for carbon negative economy, whatever may be the technological area. So this is extremely important. So carbon negative economy, if you want to ensure, then you have to carbon dioxide capturing for, the total amount of cost which is involved in capturing this carbon dioxide is huge. In fact, currently per ton the expenses may be as high as $100. So these synthetic fuels could be sold profitably, it's fine. But then, I mean, you can renew it, it can be of renewable fuel standard, but then the cost must be down, and otherwise this does not become very much, a good, technology. Knitted benzene polymer network. So this is a very, very interesting, very recent sponge. It's a porous polymer sponge, and it absorbs carbon dioxide by swelling up. And this has been developed in UK. The team who made it, they say that this can be used to reduce carbon dioxide emission directly from power plants. This cheap, it outperforms other carbon dioxide absorbents. That is, the carbon dioxides for sequestration, this is one of the best. And they are hydrophobic. So most studies so far involve dry carbon dioxide. In reality, the conditions in a power station are very harsh. And as you know that in a thermal power station using fossil fuels, there are, the condition inside the power station is very harsh. And there are carbon dioxide scrubbers, and they are exposed to very high pressure, water vapor, acidic gases and all. So what is needed is such kinds of knitted benzene polymers, whatever has been developed by the UK team. They are hydrophobic, so they don't absorb the water. Their affinity for carbon dioxide remains high, even in very wet environments. So this is again another very good, development so far as the current day developments for sequestration is concerned. I'm not going into the other kinds of technologies, because I'll have to give more stress on the smart techniques, which is so important today. One of the things is carbon farming. So you are, as I said, that carbon farming means what? So most farming is based on, again, you are using so much of, the chemicals, and that itself is really very harmful so far as the soil condition is concerned. And the fertility of the soil, it is reducing drastically it has reduced tremendously in our effort to grow more food during the last 4 or 5 decades. So reducing what then is needed today is using more of organic materials, is introducing more of organic materials in the soil, and organic farming is extremely important. So carbon can be stored in the soil. So this is managing the vegetative cover in ways that enhance the capacity of soil to sequester and store the large volumes of atmospheric carbon in a stable form. So this is, again, another very challenging area, other than the big trees, which are, as you know, that they have the carbon storage capacity. So these are all not much of technologies involved, not much of smart technologies involved so far as the conventional things are concerned. That is using different types of vegetation, plants and all. And but what is needed today is smart research into the smart techniques for carbon sequestration. And there is a lot of very interesting things which can happen if we really go for such smart technologies. Let us now, so from these two important areas, let us now come to how we can use some of the more recent technologies and in the power sector, in the agriculture sector, and also in the healthcare sector, in transportation sector, etc., to ensure that our, tomorrow's developments, they become absolutely, they become quite, relevant to the time. I'll tell you about one big company in Saudi Arabia. They have decided to, as you know, that in Saudi Arabia, there is absolute water scarcity, and not much of vegetation, mostly it's desert. So like Israel, they are also trying to make a full city, which is absolutely, it will be a green city. Now, whether it is Orsted company, which wants to, combine their energy generation, simply energy generation, whether it is in China or in Denmark or in Mexico or in Saudi Arabia. Now, everywhere, people, those who are trying to shift to big non-renewable power plants, at the same time, what they are trying to do is that they are trying to use the most modern technologies, which is based on the data science. So for that, many of these companies, they are, handshaking with the IT companies, or for example, Microsoft or Google. They are also becoming partners in such ventures. So everywhere, the smartness comes, because in your topic, one of the things is we have to understand that we need the efficient energy generation methodologies using smart techniques and efficient energy transmission and utilization. Let us see that how the utilization, who utilizes? We utilize. One of them is the transmission. The transmission and distribution line, those of you who are in electrical engineering, you should know that the loss that is incurred from the generating station before it reaches you, we are the consumers, there's a huge amount of, the loss. This is known as transmission and distribution loss over the cable, over the huge lines. So what is today needed is the energy utilization and billing. This increases. Now, this increases, and the only way we can take care of this is using big data analytics. So one of the things is the billing, which has increased over the decades. Now the companies, they are going for utilizing the big data, because large amount of generation, consumption, and also the losses, they have been observed and they have been measured. There is a concept of smart metering. Now, smart metering means in everybody's house, if we can have a smart meter, then we can come to know about how much amount of energy we have consumed at what time of the day. And a smart meter will also tell us that how to reduce my energy consumption. Today, for example, in the city of Calcutta, CESC, every month you will find that you are getting, in my opinion, just simply some random type of, I really do not know that how much is the actual consumption. If you ask them that, okay, I want to know that today is 27th of October, and how much amount of consumption I have made in the morning, in the evening, in the afternoon, etc. Will you get this kind of data? No. They will not be able to give you any such information. Now suppose if they would have employed the companies, the power utility companies, if they would have employed such kinds of smart technologies, then we could know using the big data, if they could analyze the data, and even in using the smart meter, they could tell us that, okay, on this day, you have used your washing machine for a long time. It was a Sunday. On Sundays, you have used your washing machine, or maybe that it was a very hot day. You have used more of air conditioning or air cooling, etc., etc. So that you had this much amount of energy consumption. Now, overall, how much is being, the energy is lost in the transmission and distribution network? How much amount of energy is really generated in the generating station? Because our power plants, they generate, their efficiency is slightly less because of the nature of the coal that we are using. That is again another important thing. And then how to take care of this. And as you know that during the peak load, it can say that do not use some of the appliances during the peak load hours. And you can make use of your, so this is another very important area which one can take care of. I was talking about organic farming. Say only one interesting thing is if only 10,000 medium-sized farms in the US, they converted to organic production, just simple thing. In our market, we do not get much of organic products. And even if it is available, everywhere it is very, very costly. Organic, our fruits or vegetables, whatever we produce. On the other hand, it's very simple calculation. It has shown that 10,000 medium-sized farms, simply from the conventional, the farming using the fertilizers, if we would have just shifted to the organic farming, then the soil's carbon capturing or carbon storage capacity will increase so much that it would be equivalent to taking almost 11,74,000 cars off the road. So 12 lakhs cars, whatever, they generate, whatever, energy they generate, it will be just similar to that amount of, that amount of carbon dioxide. So you can reduce the car miles driven by almost 15 billion miles. So this is an interesting thing. I am not going into other kinds of things, but then for environmental health and for sustainability, this is, in my opinion, one of the most important things to take care of. That is organic farming for environmental health, and more importantly, how we can have this transition using very important technologies. One of them is IoT. This is Internet of Things, as you know, and machine learning in agriculture. So this makes, once the agriculture becomes smart, energy generation, transmission, and distribution becomes smart, using the modern technology, then automatically we are going towards more of smart ways of sustainability. IoT and machine intelligence, how we can make use of. One is a livestock monitoring hardware, fish farming hardware, smart greenhouse, precision farming. Precision agriculture farming is extremely important today. And in the systems level, automation and control systems, and sensing and monitoring systems. So what we need is actually, people think that, okay, the computer science people, they are studying today data science. So data science has become a very big topic today to talk about. But then data science as such, just for the sake of it, only for business, profit maximization, it is one thing. But more importantly, the data science should be used in agriculture. How it can be used? To make digital soil map. Now, we have talked about, just the, suppose the Google map, Google Earth map, every vehicle today, every car today, we are using, Google map to find out our route. You want to start from this source and you want to go to the destination. So Google today, it gives you throughout the world, anywhere you go, in any continent. So Google map will be of enormous help, even if it's a very small place. But then we need not talk about digital soil map. It's a Google map which is showing us the way to really move to your destination. Now, what about the digital soil map? So the soil in every part, every, the square meter of soil, what are the characteristics of that soil? So far as the soils, the fertility is concerned, the porosity of the soil is concerned, the physical, chemical, biological, bacterial, the different type of properties of the soil, if we could, really measure them and then make a map. It's not a very simple thing, but it's not at all difficult. So only transforming our entire soil, the agricultural land, into digital soil map. Remember that whenever we are talking about the smart and, technology, it has to be digital. So the transformation into digital is one of the key things today to make them smart. Sustainability is one thing, but to make the technology smart, we need to transform them into the digital domain. So digital soil map, digital crop map. That means what kind of crops can grow in this kind of soil. Weather prediction, which is now today, it is more or less up to 7 days, 15 days. We know that more or less accurately you can have the weather prediction. Currently, I'm in USA, and now I can see that every day, almost, their prediction of their temperature, the rainfall, etc., wind, they are more or less very, very accurate. Weather prediction is a big thing. Fertilizer recommendation. Why the people, either you go for organic, even for organic, whatever is required, it should come from the computer. Disease detection, because many of the farmers, they do not know that what kind of disease. They know it from their past experiences over last, say, 100 years, their forefathers, they know. And since they are doing the real farming on ground, so they know from their traditional knowledge base. But then if we can have some kind of imaging, and then you can find out the disease of the different types of crops, and immediately you can say that, okay, what kind of pest management will be required for taking care of the bacteria which has infested this kind of a crop. Then that pest management system also will come from the data science. Automated irrigation system is so important, and adaptation to climate change, because everything, the climate is changing very widely. And since we are not taking care of the the greenhouse effects, the climate change will be now much more rapid in the years to come, in the months to come. So agricultural weather forecasts are amount and type of coverage of sky by clouds, rainfall, snow, maximum, minimum, and dew point temperatures, relative humidity, everything. So if we can go for this, so then you can truly make a big change in the Acha, if I mean, if I have taken more time or whatever is the time limit, you can give me a kind of
No, sir, you are in time.
okay. Can I continue?
Yeah. Yes, sir. 15 minutes more to continue, sir.
Okay. So I'm not going into the other technologies, but then let us see that interestingly, somehow in this we have got all. So all the GPS. So rest of the things are all stories about the GPS. I will now go for other kinds of environmental. 1 minute, if you can, we can stop sharing. Yeah. So this is about the fundamentals of only one of the things which we have here today. But then we have got other kinds of 1 minute. Just give me. Yeah, and this is, the second important things that is on. Yeah, one is, on the renewable energy side. Now, many people, they feel that, okay, renewable energy is, it means only we take care of the solar energy and wind energy. But other than that, there are hydro energy, there is geothermal energy. Now, this is one energy. I mean, I'm not talking about the general kinds of things. Your solar
did you share anything? It is not visible. Did you share anything?
Hello, no.
Okay, okay, sir. Okay, so we think that it is not visible. That's why. Yeah. No, sir, it's okay. It's okay, sir.
So yeah, I can share it, but just a minute. Yeah.
Okay, sir. Sir, please continue.
Huh?
Sir, okay, sir.
Yeah, so,
sir, please continue, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
No, let me just share once again. So can you see it now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so so on the sustainability challenges, so climate change, as I said, that is a very big sustainability challenge, and 2030 agenda for sustainability development it says that the climate change whose adverse impact undermines the ability of all countries to achieve the sustainable development. So at the policy level, we need a curriculum organized around the study of relationship between energy, environment, economics, and technology. See, this is one thing which we as teachers throughout the country, we need to understand that whether a student is studying, computer science or mechanical engineering or any civil engineering, everything today is bound by four important things. One is energy. Computer science students, they feel that they are not responsible, or those of us who work with related to computer science, the areas, we feel that, okay, we are not responsible for this greenhouse effect, which is absolutely not true. So we should understand that we are the greatest consumers of this energy, and through the social media, not we alone, I mean, everybody on who is using internet, and the amount of energy that we consume is really huge. And that really creates huge amount of, because Google, imagine that Google knows everything about every person on earth, one who is using computers. So for everyone, Google knows more about you than you know about yourself. So naturally, it involves huge, big data centers. And that involves, again, huge amount of energy consumption. To the extent that such data centers, they create huge amount of, again, the greenhouse emission, gas emission. So energy is directly related to environment. Environment is directly related to healthcare. And economics is another very important thing, and technology. So the interrelationship between the four pillars of the scales of knowledge, that has to be understood by all the students. So fewer large power plants are required now, but somehow in our country, we do not have windmill or solar collectors. So these two, we have to give more stress on. So we need to educate a generation, the generation that must foster the regeneration of the natural capital. From economics point of view, now a lot of people, they are thinking that we should give more stress on our natural resources, soil, forest, watershed, wild areas, and not on the path in which we have moved so far. So our education of our generation, they must know, and sustainability should be a topic which must be a compulsory topic for everybody. So climate change, as we said and we have been discussing, is one of the most important things, and which needs to be given more importance. So technology should, rather than smart city projects, which is so important today, but then we have to go for smart village project. Why not smart village? And why not, why the erosion, how to combat the erosion? And so these are some of the things which are, important. Aquaculture. At present, aqua farmers are depending on manual testing, and this consumes time and is inaccurate because water quality parameters, they are varying. Continuously, they are varying. So this is, aquaculture means fish farming. This is also an important thing. So technology should be brought to aquaculture. Nobody really, gives any importance to this. We always think about the other big things. But then let us come to a very small thing, that is the aquaculture. How can you take the high technology to the aquaculture so that the productivity can be increased, so that the losses can be decreased? So this is about the how simple thing. Our students, they can be given projects that how the quality of water is monitored with the help of sensors. So sensor technology is a very important thing, which somehow we do not give any importance to. Air quality measurement, water quality measurement sensor. So aquatic life, for the growth and survival of aquatic life, we need to ensure that, okay, we have to give the good quality water to the aquatic animal, fish, especially for all of us. Now, if you can have this monitoring, then that data can be traced, that can be transferred to the aqua farmer and to his mobile through the cloud. Cloud means through cloud computing. So naturally here we have to make use of cloud computing and other, kind of things. So environmental pollution monitoring. So this is again a part of smart, technology for, it is extremely important to find out that how much of global plastic production is increasing, and then how to take care of the environmental pollution due to plastic. Can we make use of the highest level of technology to get rid of this plastic menace? So this is again another very interesting thing. Microbial community grows in plastic. So nearly 8% of the total waste has been deposited in landfills or water bodies, including seas and oceans. This is all known to many of us. Plastic waste not only continues to impact many wildlife species, but also it hosts microbial communities. So it's a huge health hazard for all of us because the microplastic is available in fish, which every day we are consuming. So microbial different kinds of communities, they grow. And this huge amount of space is known as plastisphere. So in ensuring tomorrow's or today's sustainability, this is a big problem. Now we are generating the plastispheres. It's a space where only plastics are there and they are hosting different microbial communities. So it's an interesting that how to take care of these microbes and how much. And microplastics, which is generally, smaller than 5 millimeters in diameter, they are found in the environment, floating in lakes, rivers, because all of us, we are making use of this. So number one is from the material science point of view, how can we design the smart, sustainable polymer, which can be just simply the replacement of today's plastic. So needs of the consumers without damaging our environment. So this is a biomass-based plastic. Can we think about this? That is, we are using the bioplastics. We are using there the vegetable fat, soils, corn, the starch, etc. And then we can make use of the plastics, which will be biodegradable plastics. So biodegradable plastics means even if you put it on the land, it will be simply, degraded in the soil. Plant-based polymer. So this is again in the material science. This is a bio-benign material, non-toxic material, which we can develop, and more of research is needed out here. So in advanced technology, the developing countries can avoid or bypass existing less efficient technologies, and the advanced countries like USA or Europe, they leapfrog advanced technology to achieve this, I mean, to achieve their things. But then what about our countries? One of the things is, another very important issue is the electric vehicle. So transportation, and it is extremely important that much of the greenhouse gases they are generated, the carbon dioxide, carbon monoxide, and these greenhouse gas emissions is by the vehicles. And transport industry accounts for 23% of global energy-related GHG emissions. So this is a very international energy agency. So if batteries continue to be recharged with fossil fuel generated electricity, then overall emission levels could very well remain largely unchanged. You may say that, okay, we are using electrical vehicle with the batteries, and for everything for charging, we are using the electricity which is generated by fossil fuels. Now then, for generation of energy, naturally you are making use of the same technique. Overall, maybe that if you can have the batteries, battery technology is one of the most important smart technologies for electric vehicles today. And compared to this, a lot of people, they are now going for hydrogen-based fuels and the fuel cells, which are so important today. So EVs, you can, in United States, in almost all the malls, I find today that there are, with every mall, there are a large number of such, the chargers, the battery chargers. And many of the vehicles, they have been transformed into electric vehicles. And this is the thing which we need in India also, because after all, they are the most important polluters, the vehicles, the cars, the trucks, etc. So it will not be only just the battery, but then you have to find out the life cycle emission, that is well-to-wheel emission. So for an electric vehicle, let us see that what is meant by well-to-wheel is manufacture, the battery production, operation, maintenance. Where will you dispose these batteries? Like say our cell phones. Disposal is a big problem. And there is energy consumption everywhere. So sometimes we feel, okay, I will use some green, mode of energy generation, but it is not only for manufacturing, for production, for operation, for maintenance, for transportation, everywhere you are using energy. So energy is the basic thing everywhere. So electrical battery, mainly now, as you know, that everybody is going for lithium-ion batteries, but then such batteries again may not be sufficient or may not be enough. And in our country, the lithium-ion will not be, because we are not lithium manufacturing country, because lithium is more available in China. China, they are world leaders in many technological areas, including here. So there have been, alternate technologies which people are looking for. Sustainable material for green building, because the buildings also, they are not being made by the sustainable material today. And buildings are again another important area which truly makes use of a huge amount of greenhouse gases. Today's buildings, so sustainable materials means we have to recycle. So recycling is a very important thing so far as the sustainability is concerned. So it should be a systems level perspective, not individual materials. So rather than there should be combination of material. More importantly, we have to, like in IST Shipwood, we have done, when I was there as director, we have made one smart grid problem. So smart grid today is extremely important. using solar, wind, and biogas. I remember that we were producing a solar photovoltaics. We are generating about 24 kilowatt kind of power. And wind, we were not getting much. Even on an 8th floor building, on top of that, we had tried from the Ganges directly, whatever wind comes. But we could not get more than 1 to 2 kilowatt hour power. But then we could generate huge amount of energy from the biogas, from all the hostels of our campus. We are collecting the from their mess all the food, those sabji, their whatever is being wasted, and using that, or fish, etc. We were putting them into the biogas plant, and then from biogas you can generate electricity by a turbine. So using that, we could generate up to 8 to 9 kilowatt hours. So can you imagine that now, using such a small multi-renewable sources, you can really do havoc. You don't need to go for high level of electricity production using thermal power plants. So let there be distributed such kinds of solar, wind, bio producers. So we thought, and then your grid should be smart grid, in the sense that when there is the solar energy is available, then you make use of that. Otherwise, you use that additional solar energy in charging the batteries. And second important thing is, for a long number of days, there may not be any sunrise, so any solar radiation, much of it. So it may not be generating much power. So you make use of the biogas power. So the grid should be smart grid. So the concept of smart grid is one of the very important techniques of technologies of the today's whatever we call as the so system level perspective is similarly the combination of materials and equipments and techniques and policies. Now this is again a theoretical study, and that really dictates. A lot of people, they can do research on this, that how do you say that the livability of a building? I mean, what kind of material you should use in making that building? What are the equipments you will use in building? In the techniques, the policies, that is, the government may say that governmental policies in whether they will give us more subsidies in renewable solar energy or wind energy if we use. So that's a big shift we have seen in the past 10 years in the green.
Excuse me, sir. Sir,
Yes,
you told to
it's over.
remind that. Yeah, sir. It's almost
Okay. So I have taken more time. So thank you very much. I could not possibly, if you just give me one or two things, like say drone technology is one very important thing, which for spraying the pesticides, I find here in the United States, it's not only we use drones, our students, they make use of drones, but then it's a very important thing that such drones should be useful for this kind of, how much amount of, the pesticide will have to be given along with the water for farming in the huge farming lands. And it can be used using the drones. And drones can be very useful technology. And instead of drones, you can also make use of balloons. In Shibpur, we tried a lot of balloon-borne systems. Those are still useful because the balloons can generate energy. Balloons can move from one place to another for this farming. Balloons can be useful for the sort of for tracking. Balloons can be useful for finding whether there are any natural disasters, because balloons can move from one point to another. So anyway, there's no end to whatever is required for sustainability. And so what is needed is today there is an information overload on sustainability. And I will just kind of stop by saying that there is a psychic numbness. So information overload today is a major problem because everybody will present some papers and some Thomas Homer Dixon, he calls it an ingenuity gap. We have got lots of problem solving capacities, but then the sheer scale and complexity of human systems is simply utterly unfathomable because the complexity of this problem to make the entire world sustainable, and hence it becomes unmanageable. So if we do not really know that how smart techniques can make use of so many different types of technologies, and unless we can come out of this psychic numbness, the whole world will move slowly towards destruction. And it is extremely important that we must show the way. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, sir, for this informative session of sustainable development. And yes, sir, we will be innovating new domain to also make the smart village. Now, may I please take the opportunity to request our honorable principal, sir, Dr. Partho Sarkar, to felicitate Padma Shri Professor Sri Ajay Kumar Ray.
Sir, if you please stop sharing, I want to share something for you.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, thank you very much.
So please accept this from our side, sir. A small
Yes.
token of gesture, sir.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
So, namaskar.
Okay, so namaskar.
Thank you, sir. So moving on to our next curtain recitation, where we will like to invite Professor Katrina Pinto Moreiro, Queensland University of Technology, Australia. She is the Deputy Director, HDR of the School of Information System with a particular emphasis on external engagement. Previously, she was associated as lecturer in information science at the School of Information Systems, Science and Engineering faculty, Queensland University of Technology. She has a great experience as a researcher at the Quantum Interaction Group and investigated extensions of current cognitive models and decision-making models. Using the mathematical formalizations and quantum mechanics, she has expertise in domain in information system and computer engineering, with a specialization in enterprise information system and artificial intelligence, which will certainly enrich the objective of our conference. We would like to request ma'am to deliver the thematic note. Please, ma'am.
Thank you very much for this kind invitation. I will share my screen. I'll start the slideshow. Can you confirm that you can see my slides?
Yes, ma'am, it's visible.
Okay, so thank you very much. So following from the previous talk, if we want to achieve sustainability, we will need to engage in more smart technologies. In other words, we will need to rely more on machine learning capabilities or machine intelligence to start to automate things in order to make the world more sustainable. But relying on machines alone can be dangerous because the machines are quite complex when they make decisions or when they make predictions. And trusting blindly these predictions can put people or minority societal groups at danger. So this will be the topic of my talk. How can we move towards explainable analytics for sustainable and responsible machine intelligence. So a quick overview of who I am. So I've been in Queensland University of Technology since 2019. I'm originally a computer scientist from Portugal, and I received a PhD not too far away. It was in 2017, summa cum laude. And before coming here to Australia, I was a lecturer in England. And I'm also a very passionate philosopher and also a very passionate artist. You can find me many times making noise with the violin, as my neighbors tell. So I come from this beautiful country called Portugal, with a very rich history, lots of palaces. And now I am here in Australia, in this very amazing biodiverse country. So what is the motivation of this talk? So it's about artificial intelligence and or AI in this search for intelligence. So I'm not sure if you are aware of how machine learning works. So I decided to put here a brief introduction. So in AI, AI aims at trying to mimic human cognitive mechanisms. And it can be, for instance, in perception, in learning, in decision making. So when we're talking about machine learning, we're speaking about this specific task of how can a machine learn like we humans do, right? So we have these very complex structures, neural networks that before we used to provide a picture of a bird, for instance, and before we gave this picture to the computer, to the neural network, or to the machine learning algorithm to classify it, we had to manually extract features. So I would go to the picture of the bird and I would manually extract edges. I would manually extract color patterns, texture. So I was controlling the kind of information I was taking out of that image and then passing this information to the classifier. And then the classifier would say if it's a bird or not a bird. But now with deep learning does this automatically. So finding these ways of extracting features, especially out of images, it's extremely hard. And machine learning, deep learning came to automate all of that. So we have a structure that automatically extracts features and automatically classifies them, if it's a bird, not a bird, etc. What is the problem with this? Well, the problem is, since it's the machine that extracts the features that are necessary to minimize an objective function, this means that we do not know what features are being extracted to make a certain prediction. And although this seems very abstract, and probably you might be thinking, yeah, so what is the problem of that? Well, the problem of this is that when you start to apply this into human behavior or into decisions that might affect human lives, then that might lead to very problematic decisions, because we don't know whether there are biases involved, and consequently you can unconsciously put minority people at risk, or minority societal groups. But this is not to say bad things. I mean, deep learning enabled us to achieve groundbreaking results. We have platforms that are able to suppress human beings into games, for instance, such as chess, AlphaGo, which is the most recent advancement in terms of games, in terms of natural language generation, translation, etc. So fantastic breakthroughs that surpass the human intelligence have been made. But remember that the real world is never perfect. So it means that these algorithms can be reinforcing certain biases that are currently in the data. We humans are biased by nature, right? We live in our culture, in our societies, we are inherently biased. And it's unconscious. We many times make unconscious biased decisions, but when we have collected data and we try to make the machine to automate these predictions, then we are reinforcing that biases in the machine. And by reinforcing that biases, we can put societal groups in danger, for instance, in job applications. It's been seen that these AI algorithms, they ignore women more. They discuss a CV of a man, a female, and a male. Even if the CV is similar, the algorithm will choose the male. And this is in the scientific literature. So completely biased towards certain genders. And for instance, one of the most impressive biased algorithms that we have record is the North Point's predictive tool, which is a correctional, which is called COMPASS, the Correctional Offender Management Profiling for Alternative Sanctions. So pretty much what they used in United States is that they used an AI algorithm to try to predict what would be the probability of a person committing a crime, reoffending. And the penalties that were given to the people were based on that reincidence factor that was computed by the machine. So as you can see, we have here a person that had committed that, for instance, before the algorithm has said that the person had a very low risk compared to this person here, where the machine said it was of very high risk. And the outcome was that this person here actually ended up committing a major grand theft, while this one did not. Same here. The machine was saying that the probability of this person committing an offense is very low, while here it was very high. And again, what we've seen is that this subject here committed an offense and this one did not. So an analysis conducted by a company called ProPublica, they tried to understand what was behind this algorithm. Because again, the algorithm, the machine, the software is deployed, we cannot really see what's inside. So it's already deployed. We don't know how it was constructed, how it was trained. It's proprietary. It has proprietary private constructs, so we cannot have access to that information. And what they saw is that actually African defendants' risk scores, as you can see, it looks like a uniform distribution, while in here it goes towards 0 when the risk score becomes very high. So the likelihood of a defendant, a white defendant, having a high risk, it's actually very, very low, while in here it's pretty much constant, right? So we can see that this algorithm is highly biased, and yet this algorithm here was being used to help form the penalties of people, right? So this is very serious, and this is not just one example. You can see racial biases that are found in major healthcare algorithms, where African patients would not be given additional care compared to other members. Okay? So we have a problem with the AIs. Yes, AI is very important if we want to achieve smart cities, if we want to achieve sustainability in this world that we are currently living in. But if we use it as the way we are using it without regulation, then it can cause more harm than it would be without it. Okay, so we need to start to come with ways to use AI in a responsible way. And this is why in Europe they started with a GDPR policy. So every company that uses fully automated software to make decisions, the client has the right to ask for an explanation. So it's the famous Article 22 of the GDPR, which says that individuals with the right to demand an explanation of how an AI system made a decision that affects them. So the user has a right to explanation. If I lose my job because an algorithm told me so, I have the right to an explanation. And this started to open a new line of research, which is the explainability, how to make AI explainable. And this is a literature review that I started to do with my PhD students. And as you can see, from 2012, you can see everything here very machine-oriented, pattern recognition, computer-aided diagnosis, image interpretation, diagnostic imaging. So all very machine-focused. There was already some concerns in data interpretation, but not much. And then we started to speak about this GDPR policy in 2016, and it got effective in 2018. You can actually see this. So there seems to be a shift from the machine to the human. The human started to be our center of attention. And the human is pretty much the bridge between the fully automated tasks of the machines and the new ways of learning systems would work. So we have here the human quality control, facial recognition, clinical decision support systems, and so on. And in 2018, then we start to see, and to 2020, we start to see the change. We no longer want pattern recognition. We care about the humans, but we care more about explainability. How can we explain or make human understandable decisions, interpretable decisions from AI technologies? Okay, and this affects several fields, ranging from medicine to even Internet of Things. So this would be a fundamental complement of machine learning models or deep learning models that I truly believe that is missing. So currently we have the current machine learning models that you feed the data points. You don't know how this algorithm computes the prediction, but it just says, for instance, I have here an image of a chest X-ray, and you have a system that tells you I have cancer, and that's it. Okay. Ideally, I would have the same system, but not just the prediction that I have cancer, but telling me why I have cancer, and also enabling the domain experts to interact with the explanations, being able to correct it, and improving the learning system. This would be the ideal scenario. So nowadays, we don't know why a system works. We don't know whether we should trust the results. We don't know if they are correct, and we don't know if there's any error. Ideally, we want a system that tells the person why the system worked, in which contexts it doesn't work, if I can trust these results, etc. So this is where my research has been aiming, and I personally made an experience with my students here at Queensland University of Technology. I grabbed a data set of faces where, so had this data set here, where I manually labeled them, randomly labeled them as criminals and not criminals, completely random. And what they didn't know is that for the images that I labeled as criminals, so you see here the picture of my face, I added 4 black pixels in the corner of the image. The students couldn't see it. No one noticed. But by doing this, I was able to get a very good classifier, a completely biased classifier, but we don't know. The black box was constructed, and the students just saw the deployed system. And what they found is that when the algorithm predicted that my face was a criminal, the students actually was trying to justify the machine. They were telling me, oh, you're a criminal because you're wearing a hoodie. You're a criminal because you have a mean look. or in that photo, you look like a criminal. So this is what my students told. And when I told them about the pixels, they couldn't, they felt fooled because again, when we speak about high-level human decisions, these decisions need to be very, we need to be very careful here because, for instance, when I speak about if someone is a criminal or not, crime is completely contextual. It varies from region to country. It's completely independent of my facial features. So no machine learning algorithm should be able to try to make such a prediction. Okay? And even after I manipulated the image, I used some software to try to explain the image. And you can see here highlighted that the machine actually used these 4 pixels to make a decision. Okay. We also created here a new research initiative called the ZAMI, which stands for Explainable Analytics for Machine Intelligence, where we are trying to support human-machine collaboration and co-evolution. And one of the research topics that we are working at the moment is in businesses. So how can we use these AI technologies in a responsible way in order to help us identify potential problems in our company's models? How can it help us inspect the models, the predictive models that we are building? And so this is a part of a process analytics where we look at event logs to try to extract the process behavior and performance of some data from a company and try then to make some decision making. And these event logs, so this is an example of an event log. It's a very, it's multi-perspective. It has lots of dimensions. For instance, I have here the data, the resources, which is, for instance, the doctors that are taking care of a certain activity. We have the sequence data. We can also extract control flows from that data to try to see what's the process involved in the company. And this is, for instance, an example of a recorded event log, where you have, for instance, here a patient that went through lots of activities, different doctors took care of this patient, and so on. So the interesting thing is these event logs also enable us to ask lots of questions. We can try to discover the process underneath it. We can try to make some performance analysis, and so on. So we can do this traditional descriptive analysis, or we can actually try to make a prediction. So this is, for instance, an example of a process in a company. So lots of decisions are being made. This looks like a spaghetti model. And you can then try to simplify this and try to train a predictive model where you receive some ongoing processes. And then you can either try to see, given a decision point, or for instance, this patient made a certain exam. So what's the likelihood of making an exam for lung cancer, for instance? You can try to estimate how much time the patient will stay in the hospital, or you can even try to predict from the process or these activities that the patient went through in a hospital, what's the probability of the person having cancer, for instance. And again, there are many ways of doing this. I will not speak very deeply on it, but like in every data science approach, you need to process the data adequately to the problem that you have. Since event logs are multidimensional data, we need to cluster that data into what we call buckets and then encode that data. So then we can give it to the black box. But again, we have the same problem. What is the precision? What is this prediction? How it was computed? And if we try to generate explanations, then we can actually understand how the system computed this, and we try to understand if there's any bias or error in the model. And there are many ways to try to do this. There are some algorithms that enable us to try to understand what the machine is doing. For instance, in here, it's a case of diabetes that is telling you what's the most relevant features for that patient. And if we try to apply that here to predictive process analytics, then we can actually try to extract an interpretation of which features are being used for the prediction and to what extent. So we used certain data sets from hospitals, financial companies, and we came up with very interesting findings. For instance, we saw here that we have here a couple of explanations. Actually, I'll put here all the figures. So we have here interesting things because we have here activities that are not appearing. So it's saying the algorithm said that the reason why we had a certain prediction, it's because these activities are not occurring. And we were a little bit, we found this strange. How can the absence of activities be enough to predict something? And we tried to see, so the length of this process, and we were looking at a very short process. So we only had 5 activities in this process. And we saw that actually these activities only appeared after events with 14 sequences. So this made really no sense, or actually contributed nothing to explain the prediction. So clearly there was something wrong in our model, in our predictive model, because what we found that it really didn't make sense using the non-occurrence of these activities as reasons to explain the why a certain prediction was achieved. And the good thing is that you can also use the process graph to try then to debug this, to inspect whether if this makes sense or not. And actually here, for instance, we see this activity here contributing for the prediction, and we can actually confirm that in the process graph. So this is actually very interesting. So in here, it actually makes sense when we put a sequence of activities. The higher the sequence, the better the predictive system becomes. So that's why in here we had more accurate explanations when compared to the original data. And we were also very shocked to see that in many times our model was actually suffering from data leakage. So the data leakage, we found that these 2 activities here, they somehow were appearing in the training sets. So they were using the training set to predict these very same activities, which again shows that there was here a problem of data leakage. Okay, so the model was not learning correctly this data set here. So probably a problem of the encoding of data, or how we represent the data, or even data quality issues in the data set. So model inspection is actually something very important, and we are still doing a lot of research in this direction on how can we continue to analyze these processes from businesses and try to come up with more with better insights, or where are the risks of the company, where are the biases in these algorithms, how can we provide better decision making to businesses using the capabilities of explainable AI. I also started a line of research because I'm not sure if you know much about neural networks. So this is an animation of how a neural network works. For instance, if I have 2 features, and let's imagine this is age and this is my height, and I want to predict if I have a certain disease, what a neural network will do is that it will move these features together with weights to the first layer. And oops, I think I put the wrong one. Okay. And we'll repeat the same thing for the second node of the first layer. And we'll repeat the same thing for the third node of the hidden layer, and so on. So as you can see, a neural network, when I have here age and height, these features are lost when I move here, right? Age and height are no longer independent of each other. They become expressed as a linear combination of features and weights affected by a nonlinear function, okay? And when I try to make the final prediction, it's the same. I make a linear combination of all these three functions and apply a nonlinear function here to try then to estimate the difference between the value that we outputted here, and the value that I was expecting to see for that pattern, for that data point, right? And I want to minimize this error. So when I have algorithms in the literature that try to explain to me features individually, I've become very resistant, because how can you explain individual features, especially neural networks, when you lose the feature right here? So from when the features move already to the first node of the first layer, they're gone. They're expressed as linear combinations of features and weights. So how can you still claim that the reason why someone has cancer is because of one unique feature? So I started with this question: how can highly correlated features inside a black box be explained by individual features? And what I claim is they can't. Otherwise, we are providing more biased explanations rather than important explanations for the machine learning algorithm. And I created a novel algorithm called LINDA, Local Interpretation Driven Abstract Bayesian Networks. And this is pretty much inspired like in humans. So a human is also a black box. I cannot open the head of a person and try to look inside to see what the person is thinking, or how the person is making decisions. So usually when people reason if they want to buy a car or not, they put together pieces of evidence and they try to form a decision based on those evidences, right? When we try to map this to a machine, well, I have here also the black box, and the black box is uncertainty. I have no idea what it is, how it makes these predictions. So, but there can be probably ways that I can try to figure out more or less where the decisions are being made inside the decision space. It's like a person. If I don't know what the person is thinking, I will start asking questions for the person. So if I decided that I wanted to buy a car, I can start to ask the person, so why did you buy it? Why did you need it? And so I can ask very similar questions to that prediction or to that decision that the person made. Same here in the machine. If I shake a little bit the data point, if I introduce a little bit of noise in the data point I want to explain, and I go through the black box again, and the black box classifies that perturbed data point, well, if the decision was made in the very well clear defined decision space, then you will see a lot of confidence in the prediction. If it was made near the decision boundary, then you will see that shaking a little bit that vector will lead to different predictions, so it will not be very consistent. And the same here, where you have a nonlinear decision boundary. So as you can see, what I proposed is it's not one individual feature that is telling me the why, but the harmony or the symbiotic relationship between features, how they are contributing to the class, and with different levels of uncertainty. And this is pretty much what I've done. So I grabbed the data point that I wanted to explain, for instance, a patient with some diabetes. I shaked that vector, so I introduced some noise, and I passed it through the black box to classify them. So this gave me a new labeled training set from which I could learn a new statistical model out of it. And this is how we call the local interpretable abstract Bayesian network, because it computes and approximates locally inference to the black box. And what we found is that sometimes we can have, we found 4 rules. Sometimes we can have high confidence predictions. For instance, when the machine learning model says that I have cancer, the graph, the probabilistic graph will say 100% confidence that I have cancer. And these are the features that are playing a role. So this feature is influencing this feature, and they are both influencing the class. We also found that sometimes the model learned that the class is completely independent of the features, which means that it doesn't matter if the person has high glucose or not, you will always have diabetes, for instance. This is the interpretation. And of course, this makes no sense. It means that the machine was not able to generalize well the predictions. Or if it goes near the decision boundary, then you can see here, there's already here uncertainty. It's actually contradicting the class variable. So the human user can look at this and say, okay, let me revisit my patient's exams, let me revisit the data, because this patient here, clearly the machine cannot make a very confident prediction. And I want to understand if there's any problem in the exams or so on. And the same here, where, for instance, the prediction is as good as flipping a coin. Okay, so these two cases are the primary ones where the human needs to step in. So we need to leave the authority of the machine and bring the human back into the authority to make good decisions and not rely on the machine alone to make them. And this is in practice. So as you can see, this is the traditional literature, and this is what the model that we built offers. So you can see here that blood pressure, glucose, pregnancies, they are all here connected to each other, playing a role in diabetes. These here, you can discard it due to conditional independence in graphs, but that's another story. You can see here the other example where you saw that diabetes is completely independent. And in here, we noticed that this is a false positive. So the machine said no, and the explanation says yes. So this is clearly a false positive that we were able to spot with this model, something that we could not do it with this. This is even difficult to interpret for a human. And the same thing here, when there's lots of uncertainty, you start to see more features involved in the process. And you start to see that even in the permutation process, different values of features start to be impacting differently on others. And the case where the prediction is, the explanation is as good as flipping a coin. Okay, I even prepared here a demo to show you of how this works. So for instance, I have here a neural network with a couple of layers, and I want to explain this patient here. So this patient, the prediction is diabetes. The black box said that the patient has diabetes. The correct diagnosis was actually diabetes, so the machine got it right. And these are his features. So it only had one child, this person. Glucose levels were extremely high, as you can see. And now let's see what the machine will tell us. So we can simply now try to run our explainable system, which will try to then learn. And as you can see, these will be the explanations or the features playing a major role in the explanation of diabetes. And the good thing about this is that since this is a network, you can actually download it and interact with it. So a domain expert can actually try to interact with these applications. And if the domain expert knows something more from experience, it can actually try to improve the system. You can also try to generate reports and say that the person has certain features that are not relevant to diabetes, or other features are more important, and so on. So, and you can also have, for instance, when we do not have much confidence in our results. So we have here another patient. In this case, it was a false negative. So the person actually had diabetes and the prediction said they didn't have. And pretty much the explanation, we can analyze it. There's a 70% chance that the person doesn't have, and the domain expert can come here and interact with the system and say, no, actually we can check here some values, and we can adjust some parameters of what it should be for this patient, and actually leads to a correct diagnosis now. So the medical doctor can even use these explainable systems to learn better of how the machine is doing. So even if the machine makes a mistake, the medical doctor can incorporate his domain knowledge and try to see how much of that knowledge can change the network. So what are we currently working on? So from this, we are trying to do lots of things, actually. We are highly creative here at Queensland University of Technology. We have a big group of students. We claim that these algorithms that trying to generate explanations, if we cannot extract causal relationships, they will be as biased as the original black box. So we are very interested in different levels of causality and how can we extract it from data, where the counterfactuals is the thing that we would like to achieve. And counterfactuals are questions of the type, let's imagine that I had a credit rejected. A machine learning, a counterfactual query would be, what would I have to change in my application in order to get a credit approved? And then the machine will tell you what features I should have changed that would allow me to get my credit approved. So it tries to compute an imaginary scenario where I would actually get the outcome that I pretended. And in XAI, in explainable machine learning, counterfactuals are nothing more than trying to find, well, some authors claim that you need to find the closest point. For instance, if in here is the credit rejected, then this is the closest point that would allow you to have a credit approved because it's in this red region. But there are some authors that saying that having a point here near the decision boundary is not good. Maybe we would like to have something more in a more dense region of the decision space, like this one or like this one. These would all be good candidates of counterfactuals. And again, the literature is again suggesting how important counterfactuals are, since they act like a bridge between human understanding and machine intelligence, so in explainable machine intelligence. So counterfactuals are good ways, are ways that the human actually learns better. So when we are kids, very small kids, our parents tell us, if you do this, you will get hurt. So we learn with these rules. We better understand the world with rules, and that's what the counterfactuals would allow us to do, to try to get explanations in terms of hypothetical rules. Hypothetical because the data is already observed and we cannot change the prediction, right? We can only imagine what the scenario would be and what features I would need to change to achieve that. So we did a literature review. We analyzed lots of papers where we had here, we also did a topic modeling analysis where we saw here that we found 4 clusters. We had here lots of papers about explainable machine intelligence, causality. We had here more papers that were more industry-based that we were not very interested. In here, we also found something more connected to human intelligence. So we had here explainability. And in here, it was more connected to medical decision-making. So we focused a lot our literature review in all the papers that fell in these 2 categories, in these 2 clusters. And we were able to actually extract novel taxonomies for current algorithms based on the different ways they are able to compute these counterfactual explanations. We also did a massive classification of current algorithms, and we found that nowadays you pretty much cannot find algorithms that are causal, that have this causality included in it, which again, it's perfect because it opens a research path to explore these causal explainable systems. Another project that we are currently working on is, for instance, in medical images. how can we use explainability to better communicate with physicians, with medical doctors, if a person has a disease or not, and why. So why this person here has COVID? Because again, currently what the machine does is it simply can highlight some weights in your image, some pixels, and it can tell you it's in this region here that the algorithm is relying on. But again, the algorithm just looks at pixels. It has nothing to do with the knowledge that a medical doctor has to make the decision. So the machine makes decisions completely different from doctors. And again, we don't know what features the machine is extracting out of these X-ray images. Okay, so we always need the human interpretation, and a very important open research question is precisely how can we make a bridge between this sub-symbolic language that simply highlights pixels in images to human understandable explanations, for instance, generating medical reports that can actually explain why the machine predicted that it's, for instance, COVID. Okay? So this is what we are currently also working on in our group. We have several publications at the moment, and if you have questions, please visit us in the ZAMI Lab initiative, or feel free to contact me. I'll be more than happy to talk to you. And above all, we are very happy to collaborate with people. So if you are a curious person, if you have a good knowledge on machine learning, we are very interested in collaborations. So just send us an email and we can discuss some projects. So thank you very much. And remember that all models are wrong. The particular question is, how wrong do they have to be to not be useful? So thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am, for your informative presentation. If the participants have any question, you can ask to ma'am. Okay. So thank you so much, ma'am. Now I would like to request Dr. Sobhyasachi Sen, Dean R&D GIS College of Engineering, to deliver this e-memento as a small token of appreciation to Professor Marina. Please, sir.
Respected Madam, on behalf of this organizing committee of the conference, so kindly I am presenting it and kindly accept this. Okay. This is a digital token, and we'll send you also by mail a certificate.
Thank you very much. This is very kind. Thank you.
And we are also kind to you because within a short time you accepted it, and your presentation was wonderful, very highly enriching. So thank you, madam.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you so much, ma'am. So now we are moving to our lunch break, and after lunch break, we'll meet again at sharp 2 p.m. Okay, sorry. We have our next speaker. Okay, so we are moving to our next speaker. Yeah, moving to a cartoon lecture session, and for this particular purpose, I would like to invite Dr. Nurliza Mohammad Noor, UTM Kuala Lumpur campus, Malaysia. Dr. Noor is currently attached as professor in UTM Razak Faculty of Technology and Informatics, University Technology Malaysia, UTM Kuala Lumpur campus. She received her Master of Electrical Engineering by Research and PhD Electrical Engineering from UTM. Her research area is in image processing and image analysis. Her current work concentrates on medical image analysis using machine and deep learning techniques for lung disease calcification detection using IVUS image and handwriting recognition. She has published many papers in journals and in indexed conference proceedings, and has published one academic book and 3 book chapters. She is a senior member of IEEE. So now I'd like to request ma'am to deliver the keynote address. Please, ma'am.
Please make her co-host, madam. Tanmay, please make madam
Yeah,
co-host.
yeah. Ma'am, we are making you co-host, ma'am. Just 1 minute.
Okay, thank you very much.
Okay,
Dr.
madam. Yes,
Tamoyika.
madam. Madam, you're audible. Yes, madam. Please.
Okay. So my video cannot be on. I cannot. Okay, start my video. Okay. I cannot share my screen.
Just a second, madam.
Okay. Are we ready? Can I share my screen?
Yeah, ma'am. You can share. Now you can share, ma'am. Ma'am, you can share now.
Can you see my screen?
No, ma'am.
Access. Okay.
Madam, please share. It will be done.
Wait, give me 1 minute.
Okay.
Because I have made a system upgrade. All right. I have to quit and I enter again.
Yeah, ma'am, you can share now.
All right. Okay. Thank you. All right. Okay. You can see
Yeah,
my slide.
it's visible,
Okay,
visible, ma'am. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. All right. Thank you very much. All right. So this is my talk today on the diagnosis and management of lung disease. So sorry about that just now because I make a system upgrade a few days ago and then everything needs to be upgraded. All right, so let's continue with the talk. So in conjunction with this conference, International Conference on Smart Technologies for Sustainable Development, ICSTSD2021, I'd like to thank the organizer for inviting me as the keynote speaker for this session. All right. Okay, so I think everyone knows about what is smart technology. So the some example will be the AI, IoT, autonomous vehicle, and so on. Right. So no need for me to draft too much on this. And also the Sustainable Development Goals. There are about 17 areas. Right. So where medicine and also the well-being is one of it. So this is where I am concentrating on with the well-being. Okay, so what we have before, right? Not what we have before, what we have currently, right? So meaning that the world was shocked with this COVID-19 pandemic, right? So we were, from the normal in 2019, suddenly in March 2020, suddenly we were in fear because of this COVID-19 virus that was originated from Wuhan, China, and then spread rapidly to the rest of the world, including Malaysia. So this talk will discuss about the diagnosis and the management of various lung disease that include COVID-19 and the current work involved, right? So I've been doing a lot of this lung disease, mainly for tuberculosis and pneumonia, and also lung cancer. All right, so just let me briefly introduce you. What is this respiratory anatomy? Why is it so important? And how can it be affected? So this is the anatomy of the normal lung. As you know, we breathe in, breathe out, and sometimes we take things for granted. We do not know what's really happening inside our body. All right, so why is it so vital? Lung is also part of the vital organ, and before this is only the heart, the kidney, and so on. So, but lung is rarely being spoken of, right? So, so therefore, suddenly with this COVID-19, so this lung is becoming more important. All right. So what we have, all right, so the structure of the lung, so we have two lungs, left and right, and then each lung, we have lobes, so I think a total about 5 lobes. One side is 3, the other side is 2, all right, and then what the structure is actually just a tissue, so it's like a tiny bubbles, right? So with basically we see through the X-ray, it will be dark, even X-ray or CT scan, it will be dark because it's full of air. Right, so but there is a tiny structure like here, we call it alveoli. So this is the end part, the whole structure of the lung. So this is where the exchange, because this alveoli will be covered with a membrane. So this membrane is just a chemistry and the physics, where it will transform the air that we breathe in, the oxygen, transform into a liquid oxygen so that it will be what you call it absorbed by the blood. Right, so it will change from the gas to the liquid form, which is being absorbed by the blood. So it's just a chemistry and physics here. All right, so but what important is this membrane, because without this membrane, the transform is not working. It's not possible. So this the oxygen-rich blood will go towards the rest of the body, from the heart, and goes into the heart and being pumped out to the rest of the body. So it will feed in all our tissue, the health tissue, the oxygen. And then likewise, all the carbon dioxide coming out as credited from the tissue will be bring to the blood, and from here it will be disposed. Right, meaning this membrane now convert from the carbon dioxide in the blood, right, convert into gas, and then this gas will be breathed out, exhaled out by us, right, when we breathing out. So this is what exactly is happening. Okay, so this is when normal lung, perfect. But then what happened when you do not have normal lung, meaning some part of the system does not do their job functioning, their job or the function very well. For example, like even the membrane is already destroyed, become hardened, right? Or the alveoli burst, right? So when they burst, you can see the lung collapse, meaning that this burst, meaning that it cannot contain the oxygen, right? And then from there, it cannot convert it into the oxygen so that the blood can absorb. All right. So likewise, the carbon dioxide also. So therefore, you will feel lethargic, meaning the rest of your body, the tissue cells, lack of oxygen, then you feel weaker and weaker and weaker, and eventually pass away. All right, so that is what happening, the crucial part of this lung. So lung disease, there are many types of lung disease, which involve of these three types. First is the airway disease. So this disease affect the tubes, airways that carry oxygen and other gases into and out of the lungs. They usually cause a narrowing or blockage of the airways. Airways disease, including asthma or COPD or bronchitis. People with airway disease often say they feel as if they are trying to breathe out through a straw. Then next we have this lung tissues disease. So this disease affects the structure of the lung tissues, as scarring or inflammation of the lung of the tissue makes the lung unable to expand fully. So meaning that when it's hardening, right, as I said, it can be the alveoli hardening or the membrane covering the alveoli hardening. So when you inhale, exhale, you expand and contract your lungs, so it does not happen. All right, so this makes it hard for the lungs to take in oxygen and release carbon dioxide. People with this type of lung disease often say they feel as if they are wearing a too tight sweater or vest. Right, so the pumping of the, because of the pressure, because you expand your lung and then you you compress your lung. So this one will make the oxygen come in when you're breathing and breathe out. Right, so then next we have the lung circulation disease. So this disease affect the blood vessels in the lungs. They are caused by clotting, scarring, or inflammation of the blood vessel. So they affect the ability of the lungs to take oxygen and release carbon dioxide. And people with this condition often feel very short of breath when they exert themselves. So all the combination. So sometimes it can be independent, but majority of the lung disease is the combination of these three. All right, so first is the pulmonary tuberculosis. So this is caused by specific TB bacteria named Mycobacterium tuberculosis. Right, so for us, we only study the tuberculosis that attack the lung, so hence the name pulmonary tuberculosis. We also have tuberculosis that attack the bones and so on. So the infections normally concentrated in one area, either the upper, middle, or lower part of the lung, and the spread is normally from the inwards near the windpipe or trachea towards the outer part of the lung. Right, so it can be like this, the shape and so on. All right, so next we have lung cancer. So lung cancer is just a normal lung behave abnormally. Suddenly wake up one morning and decide to behave abnormally, and they became aggressive. So this is lung cancer. So we have two types. So non-small cell lung cancer or carcinoma, or the small cell lung cancer. All right. So it shapes normally is around here, the trachea. Right. So it start growing here and getting bigger and bigger. All right. Next we have the pneumonia. All right. So lobar pneumonia is defined when one section or lobe of the lung is affected, whilst in bronchial pneumonia or bronchopneumonia, patches throughout both lungs are affected. And so pneumonia patient may have pus or liquid that may be filled up the infected lung. So meaning that sometimes you have pus or liquid inside this alveoli. All right. So when they fill up, because our body, we have agents that will fight. All right. So all this, what they call it, like virus or bacteria and so on, so will react to all these infection. All right. So hence we will have, they will excrete certain types of to fight this what do you call it, the bacteria or the virus. Okay, so okay, right. So therefore, this pus and liquid is the side effect of the infecting the infection. All right, so next we have the symptoms and treatment. You can see why I study all these three, because of the closeness of the symptoms and signs. All right, because it's making it hard for the doctors to see unless it's quite late already, right? Because whereby it's clear cut, right? So like for pneumonia, it's coughing fever. All right, the clinical symptom. Pulmonary tuberculosis is also coughing fever, and they have a few more things. This is loss of weight, loss of appetite, which can be easily seen when you're normally skinny. The person is skinny, very, very skinny. And then lung cancer is also the same, which is coughing fever, loss of weight, loss of appetite. So tuberculosis and lung cancer is very, very close in terms of the symptom and sign, especially clinical. But then you can have additional information. All right. So normally pneumonia is coughing fever. There is nothing, no sputum, no nothing. So normally what you do is just give antibiotic and rest, and should be recovered in 2 weeks. All right. But don't be surprised. There are some who's not because of the doctor's misdiagnosis or lack of attention. All right. So some they go in and out of the hospital for 2 years. The doctor says still pneumonia, but then once they do this sputum test or take them chest X-ray, then it will say other things, right? So that's quite advanced, quite too late already, and then because you do not seek early treatment, right? So for the pulmonary tuberculosis, so normally additional information, we have the sputum smear test for the AFB, which can be positive or negative, and most likely is negative. Because of the patient sometimes is unable to give a good sputum specimen. All right, and then the bacteriological test are positive or negative, or Montu test. So Montu test, but this takes some time, like 2 weeks. Normally with tuberculosis, normally the doctor will not allow you to go back home before you take without any treatment, because this is airborne disease. All right, tuberculosis is airborne disease, and then normally, it can spread easily. It's just like COVID, but this one, the effect is take longer time compared to COVID. COVID is very rapid. So therefore, normally the doctor will say, okay, let's take the chest X-ray. You can just wait for 10 minutes. You got your X-ray done. Then from the X-ray, the doctor will see if it's all full white or with the like a snowy white. So that is already almost confirmed it is a pulmonary tuberculosis, right? So except for this one, it takes time, like 2 weeks for the lab to produce. So normally what the doctor will do is give the anti-TB drug for 6 months. The consultation is every 2 months. And normally we should see the difference in the X-ray after 2 months of treatment. Okay, so however, the scars and cavities still remain because it will destroy the alveoli. Right, next is the lung cancer. Right, as I said, coughing, fever, loss of weight, loss of appetite. So the sputum smear test is negative, and then normally you go for the chest X-ray, and the gold standard to confirm lung cancer is through the tissue biopsy. But somehow this one is very, very, the doctor are very reluctant to do, because to take, as I said just now, when I show you lung cancer, normally it's occur here. Right, and this is the trachea, and in between the two lungs you have your heart and all the main arteries in and out the heart. Right, so for one person for the medical doctor, the expert, to probe a needle to take a specimen, right, because you are breathing in and out, so there's a movement there, even with a CT scan and all the gadget there, is really quite dangerous because of the movement. All right, so sometimes the needle can poke into the main artery, and the patient can bleed to death on that table. All right, so that's why normally what the doctor do is normally differential diagnosis, meaning that they try to eliminate pneumonia. So if not recovered in 2 weeks, then they then they go for this one, for the pulmonary tuberculosis. So if there is nothing, what do you call it? No difference after the anti-TB drug, then they will suspect lung cancer. So by then it is quite late already. All right. So therefore, there is if you go through the gold standard lah. Right, so normally what the doctor will do is see whether this one is positive or negative. If this is negative, then most likely will be here. All right, okay. Unless you have the as I said, the gold standard is to take the lung tissue biopsy. All right, so this one will confirm whether it is cancer or not. All right. So this is the visual of chest radiograph. We use X-ray majority of the, because hospital in Malaysia all equipped with the X-ray, and it is very cheap. Even the remote area, remote clinic, district clinic, and so on are all equipped there with the X-ray. Unlike CT scan is more expensive. So normally in the big cities or advanced hospital, they will have the CT scan. But the normal clinic all have X-ray. So this is the look of it. This is pneumonia, and this is the infected with TB. So the shape, the how, the spread of the whitish thing here, the doctors expert the eyes from the expert eyes, they can see the difference. And this is the lung tissue infected with cancer. So this is cancer. And this is normal. All right. So why choose chest X-ray? As I said, chest X-ray has been proven to be an important tool in aiding medical doctors in diagnosing lung disease. All right. And then with economic consideration, cheaper compared to other modality. And of course, the radiation is also much less. Then easily available, as I said just now, Malaysian hospitals are equipped with a chest X-ray machine, including the district hospital. Right, so this is my first attempt last time. So we use endoscope to see whether we can classify between the TB, normal, and lung cancer. So it is easily to do. We can because it's very separated. But when we add pneumonia cases, so this is what happened. The green is the pneumonia. So the normal it can be what they call it. It can be separated, but then between the TB cancer and the pneumonia is all, you can see the pneumonia is all spread throughout. Right, so therefore we have to find another way. So this time, during that time, we use wavelet texture measures. Right, so we use 12 texture measures to do. Then we use the discrimination strategy for disease present and disease absent. So this is the old way, the traditional way in do this classification. So we use pairwise, right? So pneumonia normal, TB normal, and LC normal, and we got quite high, right? So this is a pairwise discrimination strategy between the disease absent and disease present. Right, so we got quite a very, very good correct classification for normal. All right, next is the discriminating between the disease, which is much harder, pneumonia, TB, and LC. Right, so this is pairwise. So we also do pneumonia, TB, discrimination strategy between the disease. So between the pneumonia, TB, pneumonia, LC, and TB, LC. Right, so we still use the 12, and then from here we find out the mean of energy and the maximum value give quite high, and we use this type of LDF and QDF as our discrimination strategy. Right, so from here what we have is that for the correct classification for pneumonia is 70%, right? And then for the TB is 96.67%, and for the LC is 78.6%. Because just now the overlapping between the pneumonia and LC from the endoscope just now you can see very, very much overlap, right? But we managed to get with quite good percentage, right? Okay, so this now, this is my previous work, and now suddenly the world have been surprised by this COVID-19 virus. We're being attacked by this COVID-19 virus, and it scares us, right? Because like TB, LC, even other This is the effect is slow, much slower. But this COVID-19 virus is very aggressive and very fast, and it's airborne. It can be spread up into to the 5th generation, and you don't know who can pass to you. Like TB, normally you in the vicinity of that person, so you got it direct, right? But here, COVID-19, you can pass it from the first person who has the COVID-19 virus, pass to B. B did not get anything, no symptom, nothing, can pass to C, C pass to D, D pass to E. So the E is the last person who may die of this COVID-19 virus. So it's already been proven because we already have that cases in Malaysia. All right. So, and everybody got scared. And why I say it's so rapid. So this is, I choose, this one is in June 2020, where it's already spread, right? A lot. So total confirmed about 6 million, 6.6 million, and we already have death about 391. This is in June 2020, right? Then next 1 month after that, this is in July. So from 6.6 million, almost half is double, 11 million people, and the death is almost half also. So it is 500, more than 500,000 already dead due to this COVID-19. Okay, and this is when is this? So this is 2021, 1 year after that, right? So we already have total cases 215 million with almost 4.5 million death, right? So this is very scary, right? So during this time, August 2021, we already have the vaccine. So the vaccination is being rapidly administered. So this is in September, 1 month after that, right? So because of the COVID, because of the vaccination already started, so it's slower down. So this is just to 2021 and 4.5 million and so on. All right. So just to show this part, Indonesia is in here, US in here, and suddenly Malaysia is in the list. All right. So I'm in Malaysia, I'm from Malaysia, or we were very scared. Right. So the minute the vaccination come, even though we have a lot of anti-vaccine community, suddenly our Minister of Health, the young guy, Yang Muhammad Khairi Jamaluddin, he also got headache, because we want to vaccine people, then the anti-vaccine group quite powerful in causing people not to have, right? So what he did is that, okay, I have about 500,000 doses for AstraZeneca. Okay, he opened a separate portal, say, okay, whoever wants this, please register here, right? So he only did it for our Kuala Lumpur and Selangor, because we are the one that densely populated and heavily hit of this COVID-19, right? So then suddenly people realized that, these 500 million doses were being snapped up by, because you register, so it's about 3 hours finish already. Okay. So yeah, even I myself also skeptical, because of this anti-vaccine group is quite loud and quite powerful. And then he opened again a few more days after that. He said, okay, I have another 1 million doses of AZ. So whoever wants, please register. All right. So at that time it was everybody, because at that time, the number of cases keep on rising. So we were very scared. So this 1 million doses was snapped up within 1 hour. All right. So I think 90 minutes within 1 hour snap up already. I myself did not get it, but I get it the next day, meaning that somebody cancel or somebody, they clean up the registration, because some maybe double or triple registered. So they clean up, then I got it the next day. So this is showing, and then after this, after this event, all right, all the anti-vaccine people group, the anti-vaccine group shut their mouth. They now not so loud because they were surprised that, wow, 1.5 million doses are being snapped, right? This is only for the first vaccine, not the second one. The second one, Malaysia is trying to get from others, right? So this is what we have in June, right? So we were even the last year in 2021, we just in the hundreds, right? Now suddenly it's in the thousands, and then these people starting to get scared. And this is in June, and this is in August, right? So the August and September. So we were in the 20,000, so 5 digits already, and this is where when now suddenly, okay, so up till August we already have about 61% people with first vaccination, all right? 81% with first vaccination and the second. But now we already almost go back to normal, but still we need to wear a face mask and also social distancing, right? But because we already achieved 90% herd community, all right? So 90% of the adult already had complete their 2 vaccination. All right, now they are targeting the high school students who's also going on now. And they should be by November they should be finished, and then now they are targeting for the lower secondary, below 12 years old. All right, so because of this so rapid and so on, the emergence of AI for lung disease due to COVID happened, being accepted, because last time to talk about AI to these radiologists is very, very impossible, right? They said no, right? But then due to this COVID-19 virus, now everybody is embracing, right? So because of it's airborne virus that is able to spread rapidly, the carrier may not have any symptoms and can transfer up to 5 generations. Then minimum direct contact with COVID patient is required. That's why you can see with people, the frontliners wearing the PPE and so on. And then even though the vaccination is in place, there are new virus mutations. So that's why we were hit quite bad in August and September because of the Delta variant. And it kills fast, right? Okay. And then fast and quick diagnosis is required. Hence, there is acceptance by the radiologist community. So AI provide more information, quantification, and also the pattern of virus spread or attack the respiratory organ. So utilization of CT scan and X-ray images. So X-ray is more economical and portable because it has a minimum, you can have it minimum direct contact. Unlike CT scan, you have to bring the patient to the CT scan room because CT scan is so big. And then, of course, somebody has to bring them in, and then with all these virus around, you have to sanitize, things like that. So lots of work, lots is quite expensive. Because like I say, even now, they use low technology like the ultrasound to detect the B line or the A line of the lungs, right? So we should, meaning that now people are looking at the lower technology to deal with this COVID-19 virus. And then we have the portable X-ray. We have the portable where you can bring to the ICU to the patient, and then you can have like a mirror because radiation can pass through. So because that you can just get the X-ray done with the patient with minimum contact. So that's why X-ray is more popular. All right. So AI role in the COVID-19 clinical decision. So for her, it's like task, control infection. So meaning that we want to access accurately and one-timely. Then reduce burden by the hospital staff and improve efficiency. So this is for rapid evaluation. Just imagine you have thousands of people. So even the hospital, the radiologists cannot cope. So now they say if you have the system, any system, we can track. And then diagnosis, diagnose accurately. So accurately assess lesion and quantify segmentation. Grading quantitatively. So this multidimensional comprehensive analysis of lesions. Follow up dynamically, compare the result of multiple CT examination intelligently and analyze the result quantitatively. All right, so this is the component of AI based for lung disease classification system. Normally we have pre-processing. So if you, sometimes necessary, sometimes not, depending, either you're going to use CT scan or X-ray. So you have to use, first maybe to do noise removal and so on. Next is the segmentation. So normally you want to segment the lung area only. Then the candidate detection, so where you want to see the features and the potential tumors or microcalcification, polyps, etc. Then of course feature extraction, so you have to extract these features. And then lastly, the classification, localization, and the segmentation, right? Because we need to classify, then we have to find where is it, all right? Unless it's already spread to the whole lung, all right? Then we have to try to segment, all right? Okay. So additional components may include a region of interest quantification. So normally we like to do boundary detection, and then once we got the boundary, we can calculate the area or the volume. Then we also want to do severity monitoring, and because of that, we can calculate the severity quantification. The progression of disease either is going from bad to worse or improving. All right, so there is severity monitoring, and then of course the characteristic of different strain of COVID-19. Then we have the treatment monitoring, so the effect of medication, disease progression, so getting worse or getting better. Right, so this is the first 2019 novel coronavirus features. So you can see on the CT scan, certain part the ground glass opacity GGO, right? And normally they have this. So they said out of 21 patients of the COVID-19, 15 or 71% have involvement of more than 2 lobes at chest CT. 57% had GGO, a ground glass opacity. 7 or 33% had opacity with a rounded morphology. 33% have had a peripheral distribution of disease, and 29% had consolidation with ground glass opacity, and 19% has crazy paving pattern, right? So this is what I would like to show, right? How rapid is this COVID-19? So from day 0, this is taken with 2 slides, different slides of the lung. So this both are on day 0. You can see on the right lung, there is some opacity there, ground glass opacity, right? And then the other part, the other slides are clear, and also the left lung are clear. But day 3, this already grows so big and already infected on the other lung. Okay, you can see there. This is day 3, right? This is how fast. This is the radiographic patterns of COVID-19. This is on the chest X-ray. So here, this is you can see some parts of it already being the rib bones already removed and so on, right? So you can see the ground glass opacity GGO and the multifocal patchy constellation and the interstitial changes with peripheral distribution. Right, so this is we have the day 7 up to the 7. So this is chest X-ray, day 0. All right, of an elderly male patient from Wuhan, China, who traveled to Hong Kong, China. There are 3 chest radiographs selected of the daily chest radiograph acquired in this patient. Right, so the consolidation in the right lower zone on day 0 persists into day 4, like lower zone here. So this up until day 4. And then with new consolidative changes in the right mid-zone periphery and perihilar region. Okay, and the mid-zone changes improve on the day 7 flow. All right, so slightly, and then but we can see is already from day 0 to day 4 how thick it is. All right, and then slightly changes, meaning that there's improved ability a little bit on day 7, but still, all right. So all I'm saying is that from day 0 to day 4, you can see how much is how fast it attacks you. All right, so for the AI-based segmentation of COVID-19 during this time, so majority are using deep learning. So for the segmentation, 67 using the UNet, 22% using the UNet++, and 11% using the VNet. Right, and then majority will try to segment the lung, and then a few lung lobe and the lesion. Right, so this is similarity of COVID-19 with the community-acquired pneumonia. So you can see the top part is the COVID-19 and the bottom part is the pneumonia, CAP. Right, so you can see the progression from here to here and here. So this is quite fast, right? And then fill up. And then this is the progression of the community-acquired pneumonia, a little bit, over here a little bit, right? Slightly, and then slide there, right? So it's almost similar, but the rate peak is different. Right, the summary of the imaging modalities. So majority use CT, 60%. Right, this majority the data is coming from China because it depends. China use both, but because of the advancement, they majority have the CT. Even like in Europe and UK, Europe and US also have CT. Right, but like in Malaysia, we do have CT, but we also majority will use X-ray as well. All right, and then we have the 86% use deep learning and only 14% using traditional ML. And then the task, so normally 50% will do COVID-19, non-COVID-19. Then COVID-19 and other pneumonia is this one 42%, and the severity assessment is 7%. So it is still not many people study. All right, and the accuracy is quite high already because COVID, non-COVID, so it's between 80 to 90%, and this 43%. So 57% is already achieved 90% and above. Right, so this is our current work. So what we have, so I also did this. So we have continue from my previous work. So normally we do abnormal and normal lung first. This is the first stage classification. Then from the abnormal air, because this is good to discriminate the normal lung, right? And then the abnormal, then we concentrate on the abnormal lung. So from there, we go for the second stage classification, COVID-19, non-COVID. And from this non-COVID, we will try to detect other type of disease, virus pneumonia, bacterial pneumonia, and other lung disease. Right? So this is what we have done. We take all the multiple data set from the internet. All right, and then we got about 11,000 normal and almost 12,000 normal and 12,000 abnormal. Right, and then from there we got from the abnormal, you got 5,000 pneumonia, 6,000 plus other lung disease, and only 775 COVID-19. Right, so for this is normal versus abnormal. Then after that, COVID versus COVID. So we try to balance the data since we got only 774 COVID. So we use 774 COVID and 774 non-COVID. Right, so from this non-COVID, we choose 374 X-ray and pneumonia, 400 other lung disease. Right, so in total about 1,548 images. Right, so likewise, everybody else also used ResNet and DenseNet, so normal, abnormal for lung classification. So we chose the highest here is the ResNet 50 at 0.0001 learning rate. And then for another one for the COVID and non-COVID, we still use ResNet and DenseNet, but then we show that using the DenseNet 201 at 0.001 learning rate is chosen. All right, so this is how the classification. So we test it with other data set. All right, so it varies quite a lot, right? That's why I say some got powerful 90 plus, but depending on your data set, right? Like us, also the highest is about 97.6, but we do also have the lowest 62.27%. So this is the one that I collected from my earlier. I used the data set on the tuberculosis, pneumonia, and the lung cancer, right? So it got quite low. All right, then for the COVID and non-COVID, all right, so using DenseNet 201. So here, also not so good. There's a variety, really depending on the data set they use, right? If you use this Joseph Cohen data set, so it's quite high, 70%. But if I use the one that I collected myself, you see, 15.52%, right? So it's really depending on which data set you use. So it's not really good. So we are redoing the thing again. Now it's getting better. Right, so conclusion, the proposed cloud-based system is able to achieve with good accuracy, range from the 60 to 97% in detecting normal, abnormal, using chest X-ray images. And for the non-COVID lung disease, the proposed system is able to detect in the range of 35 to 70% accuracy. All right. So, however, the accuracy is low when the non-COVID images is pneumonia. So this is expected since pneumonia and COVID-19 has a very high similarity in terms of symptoms and signs. Okay, so now we are doing again this one using a different type of deep learning just to increase the COVID and non-COVID lung assay. So far, so good. We have COVID-19, pneumonia, and other lung disease. We got about 70% plus. Certain is a three class classification. So for the COVID, we got quite high, 84%. But then for pneumonia, it's about 70+%, which is still much better than the one that we have here, right? So this is our project profile. So for that, I thank you very much. Thank you for your attention.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am, for your informative presentation. Thanks again. Now I would like to request Dr. Papun Biswas, Dean Innovative Learning, JS College of Engineering, to deliver e-memento as a small token of appreciation. Please, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Professor Noor, for your wonderful presentation on role of AI in various imaging techniques, from very simple pneumonia to very recent topic like COVID-19. Ma'am, we are enriched from your deliberation. And I hope all the participants have received some knowledge, because it's a very recent topic you have chosen for the deliberation. So thank you, ma'am. On behalf of organizing committee and from JS College of Engineering, please, I'm just sharing this very small token of appreciation for you, ma'am. Please accept this one. It's from core of our heart, ma'am. And also we'll send it to this memento to your email also. So,
okay, thank you. Thank you very much. I accept. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much, ma'am. Thanks again. And now participants, it's the time for lunch break. We will meet again with catalytic session 1 at sharp 2 p.m. So this is the lunch break. Thanks again.
Thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. Participants will meet again at sharp 2 p.m.